Okay, good morning. This is day 64 of making videos to discuss a day in the life of the schizophrenic Dominic, me, and describe some sanity that I have amidst the world going insane and turning things around and saying that I was insane. And on day 17 and day 45 of these videos, I have them pinned on my Facebook pinned posts and in the comment section, as well as the threads pinned posts in the comment section. And in day 17, I discuss that I am choosing to describe myself as a schizophrenic rather than targeted individual, and I go into those reasons why in that video. In day 45, I discuss that in the first 3.5 minutes, an intro to these videos, as you can see there. And okay, so I read little books, I think little thoughts, and then I document them here for perhaps when I die or something of that nature in the future. Maybe I don't think that I will ever not be considered schizophrenic, but you never know. Maybe some crazy thing can happen and I can sue the government and all that, but I really doubt it. I So as a schizophrenic, I can affect reality just by thinking and acting and being. Uh, and then in some ways, I don't affect anything. It's like the power to be powerless, but you're powerless, and yet you have. Now, when I say that, I don't. It's not direct. People coordinate things in the world based on things that I do or think or say or whatever. So in my book, I have I'm writing a book, and it's called Unveiling Schizophrenic Tradition. Okay, so getting into things today, the Lakers look good. The Lakers look really good. There's they're playing really well, and they're about 8 or 9 deep, and they look like they can make a run here. I still think they need another center. Not that Jackson Hayes is not a good starting center, but I don't know if Jackson Hayes can play 35, 40 minutes a game like you'll need a center to do in the playoffs, like AD used to. And we'll I guess we'll see. But he's a really good player and he's very underrated. So I think the Lakers are looking good. Luka is he's very good. I didn't quite realize how good he was when he was on Dallas, but you can tell he's a really great player. Even though he hasn't put up like the big monster numbers he was putting up in Dallas, he did against Denver though. He looks very good in that game. So okay, so go Lakers, I guess. All right, so I was gonna talk about like when I before I was warred upon and before I experienced schizophrenia, I wanted to volunteer for a couple of different angel projects because I say angel because they call themselves angels, and that was Project Angel Food and Border Angels. And the first one I wanted to work for was Border Angels when I was in San Diego, and I wanted to do that. And the reason why I bring this up is because I was interfered with from doing this by a amorphous group that is probably very political in nature, and they prevented me from engaging in these activities for whatever reason, and then went around and reclassified me in people's minds as Donald Trump, and so they interfered with that whole process of what I wanted to do as a person, and I don't know what that would have led to if I had gotten involved in those things. And anyways, but I will say this: those organizations seem like really good organizations, and seems like a good thing to do in the scheme of things in the world, as me as a person or whatever. And that reminds me of, like, for the border angels or whatever, and it's like there really is an injustice about the economic disparity between people living on the border in Tijuana and then us here in our enclaves in the United States and stuff. And it's like I'm laughing, but I shouldn't laugh. It's a nervous laugh, but uh, yeah. So you know, getting letting contributing to people coming over the border and where they can now feed their families and engage in some work here in the United States for benefit to their family or their personal selves is a positive thing to do as a human being. And humanity goes beyond borders. I am not just an American, I am also a human being on Earth, and I am related to the whole human family. And this is poo-pooed by these nationalists in this country. And I, many people in our country are very nationalist, and but you have to think beyond your own country sometimes, and it's okay to think about your country, but you have to think beyond it sometimes and think about other human beings and put yourself in their shoes. And right now, we have people pitting us against other people in the world, and they're doing it to the benefit of their bank account and stuff. So, all right. So, anyways, I wanted to get involved in those organizations. I was prevented from doing so by an amorphous political group which waged war on me and disabled me and gave me schizophrenia. And now I am considered Donald Trump in people's minds and stuff. So, uh, everyone, and probably the motivations for these people is probably pathetic, and they have to do it in secrecy, and they cannot come out in the open and be on their perch out in the open, and because it's probably a pathetic motivation that they have for why they targeted me that way. And so unfortunately that's just the nature of those people. Okay, I want to watch a show called 0 Day. It's by Robert De Niro, and this show is about a cyber attack on the United States, which I guess includes mind control of a former president who then goes around rounding up everybody and suspending civil liberties and all this. And it's a very very interesting premise for a show, and so I want to watch it. And Robert De Niro is kind of, he probably knows about a lot of these things that are go on in society, and he probably knows, like, this civil liberty suspension in response to mind control is probably happening. And I don't know. I haven't seen the show, so I don't know what the angle is for the show, but I'll get into that. I guess if I start watching it, and I probably should. So 0 Day, I'm gonna watch that. And the 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 premise of a cyber attack is probably used to scare people into these camps, these ultra nationalist or like ultra strongman camps by Trump. He goes around being the strongman. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna protect people. I'm gonna be the big bad bully. I'm gonna be the bully. And it's probably in response to a bullying that people get from mind control and cyber attacks in the United States. So like people feel like they're vulnerable because of all these EMP weapons that are out there in the world, and so they think like we need a bully to bully back the bullies, or even if it's just a whisper campaign, like it's a whisper campaign, like we could be attacked by China, we could be attacked by Russia, or whatever. So we need the big bully to come on and save us and stuff. And so, yeah. All right. I was gonna get into something else, and Democrats. Uh, Democrats accusing non-racist white people of being racist. It actually aids and abets white supremacy, and it's one of the reasons why we have Trump right now. Now, part of the reason why we have Trump right now is because America has a racist past and has a racist history. So this is not when I say that you shouldn't accuse non-racist white people of being racist. I don't mean that you just say like don't talk about racism or whatever, but it's just like uh I experienced it myself. Like for instance, like when I talked about in the beginning, I wanted to go and help border angels help people cross the border by giving them water to come across the border. Now I also have ideas that say like people that come across the border should be considered citizens and they should not be considered sneaking into the country because the country needs them and wants them and everything. And so I think that they should have citizenship rights and we should have political integration in the world where borders are less severe in penalty for people that cross borders and they should have universal citizenship in like a North American Union or political integration around the world, global governance, things like that, because now I think it should happen democratically and it should be a whole process. So you can't just snap your fingers and it happens tomorrow. So, anyways, I wanted to do those things, and then it turned out like I was turned around and people were calling me a racist and saying that I was a Donald Trump and all this, and be based on one conversation I had 20 years ago. And, so it was like, uh, it gave me schizophrenia and everything. That's just an example of me. It's like, if you're going to come after me and say I'm a racist, then God help this country because you're going to end up pushing people towards this weird Nazi Trump thing. And so, people just have it's alienating people to go around and referring to every white person as a racist. And it maybe you get more political power. Maybe minorities get more political power within the Democratic Party, and maybe that's what they're after. And they just think like, they can get more power that way. And I don't know, maybe there's some strategy for that, but like as far as winning elections for the American government, we're seeing that it's not good and it alienates white people across the country and it pushes them into that white supremacist orbit and it actually aids and abets white supremacy because not liberal white people or like or not even liberal white people but like non-racist white people are an antidote. Or I know critical race theory says that people can be well-meaning and intentioned and still practice racism, and I'm not discounting critical race theory, and I think it's very relevant thing, but it's like you still have to be measured in the way you approach things in reality because we live in a democracy, and in this democracy, I mean, just if you just think strategically as a political strategist, it's probably not good strategy to go and push non-racist white people away from you and to badger them to the point where like uh, now Trump fills that vacuum and he comes up into his position. And so yeah, so I just wanted to say that uh, going forward, and just expressing my experience. I was recalling because I saw Border Angels and Border Project Angel food on the news, and it reminded me like, yeah, I wanted to be involved in those angel projects, and then the people turned around and said I was a racist after that, and so yeah. All right. I'm going to stop here. This one was a weird one because I was talking about this stuff, but it's got to be talked about. All right. Goodbye.